Welcome to the UK OCR Community Podcast, presented by Obstacle Racing Media. Each episode, we'll be talking to race directors, elite runners, weekend warriors, and frankly, anyone else from the UK OCR scene that will talk to us. Here is your host, Alan, aka Muddy Duck.
Anywhere in Chicken Town. The bloody scene is bloody sad. The bloody news is bloody bad.
Friends, acquaintances, and anyone else who just happens to be listening, welcome to another edition of the UK OCR podcast. This week we are not talking obstacle course racing, we're talking ultra running, in particular rat race ultra running and Scaffell pike. Sea to Summit, all the way from Seascale up to Scaffell pike, a little bit of a detour around the hills, back down to the coast to dip his feet in the sea. And I have got a guest with me, someone you've never met before, someone I've never met before, so we've never even spoke apart from right here, right now. Kris Harraway, welcome to the UK OCR podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm really well, man. Thanks ever so much. I feel great, yeah. Thanks for asking me to come on and have a chat with you. Looking forward to it.
Cool, awesome. Well, what's your history? Because everyone knows my history. I always like to ask few people before we start reviewing the race and that. So what's your history? OCR, ultra running, where do you come from?
More alcohol than anything, to be honest with you, Alan.
You like it?
And I say that in jest, but I'm very proud of where I am today compared to where I was some time ago. So up until 3.5 years ago, I was suffering with the disease of alcoholism, and I felt very little of myself. I did very little. I was ready to check out. And long story short, I got myself well, and I've been alcohol free for 3.5 years now. And I met a friend, and they encouraged me to do a 10K. I've done a couple of hikes with a walking group, an AA walking group, because I go to AA. So an AA walking group, and I just kind of got the bug for being out in the hills and the fresh air and the wilderness, and it's in my blood. I've always wanted to do it, but I've never had it in me because I was consumed with alcoholism. I was talked on to doing this 10K, and I did, and it's that one there. It's somewhere here, right? Yep. So, and that was in February this year, and since then I've then done a couple of triathlons. I think 3 triathlons. Done a 24-mile trek around Bedford. I did Manvey Coast. I've done a Rutland Water swim. That was 4K across Rutland Water. A couple of sportives, and another 10K as well later on this year, beg your pardon. And it culminated in that horrible bastard, which was Scaffell pike, which is just horrendous, wasn't it? It was horrendous.
It certainly was.
So my history is I've done knack all apart from abuse myself for about 30 years, and then started to run ultras. So
wow. So was this your first ultra race then? So you've done a few triathlons that there, but was this was your first attempt to go over 26.6? Yes. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's one way of putting it. Yeah. So I said to my friends when I come back, a lot of us stayed up the road, and I come back and I said, somebody needs to be held accountable for this, right? Because somebody somewhere has sat down and thought to themselves, I've got a great idea, right? Why don't what we'll have them do, we'll have them run at like over half a marathon, and then climb a mountain, and then come down some really dodgy scree the other side, and then scramble up a grade 2 scramble, right? Yeah. And then slide down the other side, and then make them think they've finished it with the inclines, and then we'll make them climb another mountain. They can jog along that, and when they get to the bottom after 26 miles, they can run another 6. We'll get them right near the finish, right? And just when they think they're going to run for it, we'll send them down the beach, right, under a railway track, towards the finish, and just as they think, we'll send them the other way again. It's bang out of order. I don't know what rat race are playing at, to be quite honest with you. But honest to God, it nigh on killed me, but I'd do it again tomorrow. I absolutely loved it. Everything about this whole, the people, the event's really well run, and it's I've got a different life now, and this is character building. So I absolutely love it, mate. I really do.
Cool. And there you go. Listen, that's the review of Rat Race C to Summit. No, it's not really. It was a good sum up there.
Thank you very
Let's
much.
talk about a few things about it, Kris. Then, so you just gave us a quick overview there. Did you have any aims going into it? So my aim, I was aiming to do it in 8 hours. I'm going to straight up and say I was looking at anything between 6 and 8 hours. I thought that was realistic for me. What was your aim going into it?
I mean, distance-wise, so I figured that I could probably cope with an average of 3 mile an hour. So I was thinking, well, 10 hours is realistic.
Yeah.
In hindsight, clearly it wasn't. I hadn't considered how much elevation there was. I'd looked at the map that they had at the front, down by where the registration point is, and it looked to me like there was Scaffell Pike. There was another elevation which I thought was Scaffell, and I thought that was it. So I hadn't considered just how much elevation was there. And looking on Facebook, the Rat Race Facebook page that somebody had put up, apparently it was 6,750 feet of elevation, which is, it's 20% more than Rat Race advertised. So it took me 14 hours. And
Wow.
yeah. And I mean, I'd done it with a mate, and, they were recovering from an injury. I honestly didn't think that they were going to finish it. That's the truth. I thought they'd bitten off more than they could chew. They've got a massive history of doing all these kind of events, but that injury has really taken its toll on them. And I just didn't think they were going to do as well as what they did. So I think 14 hours, all things considered, I'm massively proud. I really am.
No, and that's good. Whatever we did it in, whatever your aim were and what we finished in is your own personal goal. For me, this stopped becoming a race for me personally at a certain point, and we'll come to that in a minute. It stopped being a race and it became a challenge for me to finish it. For my own thing, and I'm going to say, if you were out there for 14 hours, it's probably more of a challenge for you than a race. Would that be fair to say?
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't ever look at these things like a race. I genuinely look at them like a challenge. Even the triathlon type things I do. I'm short, I'm fat, I'm 50, and like I said, for the first 47 years of my life, a large portion of it, I was a wreck, right? So, all of the things that I do, I just do it to finish the event. They're just events, they're challenges. So yeah, absolutely, they're not races for me. They're challenges, and it doesn't matter to me personally what time I did it in. I envisaged 10 hours because I imagined I'd be able to do an average of 3 mile an hour. But I'm quite satisfied with the fact that I just completed it.
Me too. How did you find registration on the day before? I found it super easy. I've got to say, I've been to quite a few Rat Race events. They're always quite slick and easy to go to, but this just seemed to be really quick. I was in, I was out, I was done and dusted. Was it nice and easy for you compared to other events you'd done?
No, superb. Yeah, absolutely same experience. Plenty of friendly people. Very helpful. The bag check was quick, sufficient, efficient. I beg your pardon. Things that you may not have had. They had a fairly well stocked shop where you could get those bits that you might not necessarily have. I tried a couple of Rat Race products. The gloves with the little mittens that go over them. They were great, just to keep that chill off. They're not fully waterproof by any stretch, but they worked really well for me. I mean, it's great. It's great. You're in, you're out, everything's there that you need. Have I got any criticisms about it at all? I think I have, if I'm honest. I really don't.
No.
They're really well run. I've been to a couple of other events. ATW is a local one to us. That's the triathlons, and they're really good as well. But there's other events I've done that, having experienced how well Rat Race events are run and organised and staffed, which I think is extremely important, particularly when you consider just how, severe some of the environmental conditions were on the day. I think it's really important to have the amount of people they've got out there, and the mountain rescue, and the fact that they're all volunteers is, that's fantastic. I think I've got to doff my cap to them as well, because they make it on the day, but the pit stops are fantastic. So no, all in all, I think Rat Race runs an extremely well. It's a really tight ship. Very impressed.
Completely. Unlike me trying to get up on a Saturday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to the start line at 7. Were you staying close by? I was about an half an hour down the road. So I had to get up like 5 o'clock, get ready, jump in the car at 6, to get there for 6:30 pre-start. Was you close by, or did you have a bit of a trek to get there?
Not at all. We were really lucky. It was about 15 minutes away, so it was pretty good. We got down there for 6 because we'd done a recce the night before, and parking was a bit tight. So we managed to park right opposite on a side street, and it was 2 minutes away from us when we when we finished the race. We straight back in the car. I thought then a second ago, no, it's gone, done my, I'll come back to me. But yeah,
it'll come back to you.
It'll come back to, oh no, that was it. I've just remembered, sorry. So I'm doing Snowdon in a couple of weeks. Are you going to be there?
I'm not doing Snowdon.
So that's a 6 o'clock start.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ. But don't get me wrong, I'm glad because, the sooner the better. We need to get our skates on. But yeah, I thought my days of getting up early was long gone. I used to work on the railway, and when I handed that job in, I thought I'll never have to see 6 o'clock twice on a clock again as long as I live. But Rat Race has put the end to that. So sweet.
Completely agree. Completely agree. The start on the beach, I loved it. I would say I loved the start on the beach. It seemed to be, because it was that time in the morning, there wasn't much music playing and things like that, but I thought it was just about right. You could hear the safety brief, and I loved that. Well, I loved that first mile of running on the beach. I don't know about you, but I ran off to the side, so I ran very much to the right-hand side, and I had a good pace. I think running on the beach, I was running like 9-minute miles, which I thought was quite, for me personally, was a good pace, especially on a beach. I don't know about you. Did you like that beach run, or did you get caught in the back and have to go through all this soggy stuff?
No, it weren't too bad. I mean, there was places where the sand was quite compact, and it wasn't. I wouldn't call it a difficult run, if I'm honest with you. A mile is a long way to run on the sand for anybody. Yeah, I mean, it was a great place to start and finish for sure. I mean, the views alone, I love the fact. I mean, I'm a real ocean goer. Anyone will tell you when I'm by the water, I'm in it. So when we start by the sea, to me, it's beautiful. It was a fantastic start to the day. Weather-wise, we had a beautiful sunrise. So yeah, I mean, it's a great start, and it really, just puts you in a great mood, doesn't it? When you've got that beautiful sunrise, the sea's there, it's not too cold, not too warm. It was just fantastic. Yeah, I thought it was a good start.
I did. I've got to admit, I wasn't so much keen on the next 5 miles, which was pure and out road running. That's not me.
Right.
I mean, I was in two minds what shoes to take. I was in two minds what shoes to take. I'd done Man v Mountain last year, which is the Snowdon one, which you're doing next week. I'd talked to people who'd done Ben Nevis, who'd done the Cedar Summit, and everyone was talking about roads. There was quite a lot of roads there, and I know there is down in Wales. So I decided to go with trainers that were probably dual purpose, and I ran in some Innovate 280s, which are dual purpose with a bit of grit for off road, but also enough cushioning for road. Did you have any special trainers in that you took, or did you just go with what you normally run in?
No, so I did a bit of research, and I often run in Solomon's, but they were going to be no good because there's no heel lock on them at all. So and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but is it Saucony? Saucony. So I got some Saucony Endorphin Rift, and they performed brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. 6 mil tread, 6 mil drop, worked really well for me. Didn't have to break them in. They were really soft, like a sock type composition. Drained well. They were white when I started, but the peat, I could never going to get them clean again. But so what? So they were great. I don't mind the road running myself, but those trail trainers definitely, the trail trainers definitely, you needed something with more than your standard grip, because the conditions up there, if no one's ever done Scaffell Pike before, I don't know if this is a word, but it is now, screey, right? There's a lot of scree. And, you need something. I tell you what I will do next time. What a mate of mine had on, and I wish I'd have bought some. I'm going to get myself some gaiters, because the amount of stones and rubbish that you get down the side of your shoes that you can avoid with a relatively cheap pair of gaiters is an absolute game changer, I think. So I'll definitely get some of them next time. So yeah,
that's a great tip, that, because when I was coming down the scree from Scaffell, not from Scaffell Pike, from Scaffell, and I was coming down that scree, I got a couple of small stones in my shoes, and I had to stop at the bottom and change them and that. So we're that first aid station, 6 miles in. I've got to admit, I was on cracking pace. I was running sub 9 minute miles all the way to that point. I was right bang on my target. Hit the aid station. Great aid station, by the way. Did you spend any time in it? I mean, I was in and out, so I didn't spend a lot of time in, but I did pop my head in just to see what was there. There was so much food.
Yeah, it's great, wasn't it? Yeah, well, my mate was, and his missus was helping out there. They were volunteering there. And he said he couldn't keep up with the amount of food he needed to cut. He was getting real stressed out with the knife he was using to cut the saurine bars. But it was brilliant. It was great. There was lots there. I think it's a really, again, Rat Race is great. I've been to other events that are as generous with the free food. Yes, we pay a premium to do these events, but it's evident in the amount of stuff that you get. There was plenty of hot water, food, drinks, and tons of food. The only thing I would say is you definitely need more toilets. For me and the rest of the gentlemen who aren't that shy, it don't make any difference, does it? You can just pop out and pee anywhere. But unless the girls have got a shiwi, then they're stood waiting. And if there is anyone listening to this, and you are a fella and you are stuck in a queue, get out, leave the ladies to use it and go pee around the corner. Speed things up. On a serious note, they need more toilets. But I was talking to a friend who spoke to one of the organisers, and they said it doesn't matter how many toilets they have. It can be 2 or 10. There's always people queuing, which is just nonsense. There's more toilets, less queues. It's that simple. So on that pit stop one, I was there for 25 minutes waiting for a friend to use the toilet. So that added on. Yeah, exactly. It was unnecessary. And, when you've got 3 stops, can be, you're looking at well over an hour, aren't you, if it takes that long at each one, which adds on to the time.
And I didn't go there. I didn't go to. I actually went to toilet at checkpoint 2. There's no queues when I got to checkpoint 2. I had slowed down at this point because we got another 6 miles before we got to checkpoint 2, didn't we? I think it was about 13 miles in, was it? Something like that when we hit checkpoint 2?
So I think, about 14 or something like that, I believe it was. Like 6:14, and then you had that massive gap, but that was, you couldn't help that. There's nowhere else to have it, was there?
No. And for me, that was probably one of the, and I'll jump ahead to that part now, between the second and the third checkpoint, it was really bad for me, and the reason why is we went up Scaffell, and I wasn't expecting to spend the amount of time up there between checkpoint 2 and 3. I spent nearly five hours up there in space of 10 miles, where I ran out of water. I think within the third hour, I was out of water, so I had 2 hours complete without water. Thank God so much for caffeine bars, caffeine bullet bars, and Cheer Charge. I was literally down in them to try and get electrolytes in my body and food in my body to try and stop the cramps that were potentially starting. But yeah, they can't put another checkpoint in there. But I don't know. It was such a long time to go without. For anyone who was up there, anyone who was not a serious out-and-out runner, it was a long time to go between checkpoint 2 and 3, weren't it?
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it better myself. For future runners, be prepared, be well stocked, make sure you've got plenty of liquids on board, make sure at least one of your bottles has got electrolytes in, if not both. It's a long time. We had food with us, and that come in really handy just before that third ascent. Again, just having plenty of sugary snacks, food, drink, etc., and just be prepared to be there for a long time, because I ran out of water as well, actually. I was very careful how much I drank, but it did seem a hell of a long time between 2 and 3, and that's it's unavoidable. There is nowhere to put another checkpoint. Another checkpoint. So it's a long way, but just be prepared.
Get your teeth into some science. With a caffeine kick that works 3 times faster than gels, drinks, or pills. Caffeine bullets have been shown to boost your endurance by up to 6% and help reduce pain and fatigue so you can run faster for longer. Whether you're training for high rocks, OCR, or 5K or an ultra, caffeine bullets have your back. They'll help you train harder and push for that personal best. And here's the cool science part: buccal absorption. The caffeine is absorbed through your cheeks and gums as you chew, hitting your bloodstream in just 5 minutes. Perfect for getting that energy burst right when you need it. Ready to crush your next race? Use code UKOCR at checkout for 20% off and go smash your PB. Now, let's get back to the show.
So let's talk about Scaffell then, because Scaffell was a start of it. 14 miles into it, you know. I look at my Strava, and I've got it up here. And at 14 miles into it, at that point, I was running 11:54s miles. That was my time, you know, minutes per mile. I was in 11:54. 14 mile, I ran at a 12-minute mile. Then the start of it came, you know. My next mile was 56 minutes, and then we go mile 16, 47 minutes with 1,322 feet elevation, mile 17, 49 minutes, and then the next one for me, which we're going to come to the reason why in a minute, but I did a mile in an hour and 13 minutes with minus 14 foot of elevation. So, I mean, the reason why mine went from 12 to 46, 47, I really struggled with the climb. I don't know why. I was coming back from colds, so I'm going to turn around and say that it got me. I was struggling to get oxygen into my blood. I was really, really struggling going up the climbs. People were overtaking me, which is, you know, not where I want to be normally as a bit of a racer. My motivation was going down because I was struggling. That climb up Scaffell, I've never been up Scaffell before, you know. I've been up Ingleborough and I've been up other hills up there, you know, and Skiddaw. I've been up Skiddaw and I've been up Snowdon and lots of hills. But I've never been up a hill that was purely rocks that moved every time you put your foot on it. There was no grip anywhere.
No, no, absolutely. It's what I'm saying. It's the excuse me. The underfoot conditions on Scaffell, in my opinion, are unique to any other place that I've ever hiked. And I've done quite a few around the Lake District now. We're doing the Wainwrights between us. And I've never had anything like that. It's absolutely unique. And the ascent is the best bit. You get over onto the descent and that scream when you're coming down the other way is horrendous. It's horrendous. You know, you're practically skiing down it in places. You've got to be ever so careful. I never hike without poles. And the poles, if anyone's thinking of doing this in the future and you haven't had any experience of it, then I would insist. I cannot recommend highly enough to get yourself a decent set of poles. It changes it changes everything about your hike. You know, that ascent, it becomes a lot less painful. You're not exactly taking weight on your hands, but it straightens your posture up and it just makes the whole thing better. So, you know, I just plod along. I put one foot in front of the other. I put my head down and I just keep going. And it seems to work for me. You know, I don't break any time and any records, but I just get there.
And that's how I felt. I've got to admit, that's how I felt going up it. It was probably the most horrendous thing I've ever done. And when I got to the top, I was gutted that we was in clouds. When I got up there, we was in clouds. You couldn't see very far. But it was great to be on the top, to go up onto that little summit, you know, stand at the side of the trig point and, you know, and that, get your photo taken by James Appleton. It was great to be up there. I was glad to be then on my way down. I'm going to say, but the little scree section, as we went past, was it the stretcher where there was, I ran a little bit before we got to the stretcher, the mountain rescue stretcher station, and then we turned right and went back up again. What was that about?
I don't know. I mean, by this point, you know, I was already formulating my strongly worded email to Rat Race in my head. Like, what are you playing at, you know? But yeah, it was you know, the top of Scaffell, you've got them, you know, it's boulder fields, isn't it? The top of a lot of these places, they're all collapsed volcanoes. So it's not very nice to walk around there. It is pretty dangerous. You've got to be ever so careful. And I didn't know what to expect because I'd never come down the other side of Scaffell Pike. I've never seen that before. And it was steep and it was extremely treacherous. You know, people holding on to each other. And and then when we got down, I don't know what I expected. I don't know what I expected to come next, but it wasn't what was there.
It wasn't the waterfall. That. We went up a waterfall. It was as simple as that.
I mean,
it was like crazy.
Yeah. So there was a couple of girls in front of me, and lovely lasses. It's the first time they've done anything like this, and one of them just froze. She couldn't move, you know. And between us, we managed to encourage her and get her on, but she was in tears, bless her. And you know, looking down halfway up that scramble, you think, you know, it's serious stuff. You know, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love all that stuff. I've done some really stupid things in my time. Really stupid, but that race takes the biscuit without a doubt.
I agree. At that point, horrendous. I thought it was dangerous. I thought at that point it was dangerous.
I know it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. But you're right. It is dangerous, and that's part of the appeal, surely.
Yeah, it is, and I have a mixed bag of feelings about it. I really have got a mixed bag of feelings, and I'll tell you the reason why. So I'm an experienced runner. I'm an experienced hiker. I don't like heights. That's one of my big things. I don't like heights. So when we're going up a steep cliff like that, I'm a little bit, you know, wary. I'm experienced and fairly strong, and I went up there with a bit of difficulty. You know, I was reaching quite often to grab a handhold. If I was going up that normally, so I'd just come out of the house, I'd warmed up a little bit, and I was going up it, I would be absolutely fine. But at this point, we had 17 miles in his legs. You know, we'd ran 14 miles, walked 14 miles for a lot of people, but we got 14 miles, and then we'd gone up Scaffell Pike for 1.5 miles, you know, started to come back down, and then you went up the waterfall. Everyone's tired. Everyone's feeling it. I mean, for me, this was about, I want to say about 4 hours into my race at this point. But for some people, I know this was 8 hours into their race, or potentially could have been 8 hours into their race. You know, I'm going to turn around and put my neck on the line here and say, I think it was dangerous. I think it was dangerous for fun runners at that point. And my reason why is I was speaking to a guy from the mountain rescue team, and he said that in winter they use that waterfall for ice climbing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, all jokes aside, right? I agree. I really do. And the thought crossed my mind when I was climbing up there thinking, I've run past people this morning. They ain't going to get up this. There's absolutely no chance. And if they do, well, I mean, fair play to them. But it's a hell of a feature to have 17 miles in, having scaled Scaffell Pike. It's a big ask. It really is. If you take your time, and you know, you just follow everybody else. At the end of the day, we're all just human beings. And if the person in front of you is getting up and the person behind is going up, then my head tells me that I'm going to get up too. And yeah, it was tricky and it was borderline dangerous. But I haven't yet heard of any serious injuries.
No,
so,
there wasn't any.
You know,
I've reached out to Rat Race and I've asked them straight up, and I've asked them was there anything, and they've assured me that there was nothing there. You know, the person got back to me, there was nothing there, which is absolutely fantastic. Well done to you guys. You know, it just maybe felt dangerous. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
At the time,
yeah, absolutely.
It just felt so dangerous to me. Did I get euphoria when I finished it? No. I was just thankful to be alive.
Relief. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that girl I was just mentioning, she got to the top. We stayed with her right until to the top, and she turned around and you could see the relief in her eyes. She said, "That's the most dangerous thing I've ever done in my life." So yeah, and you're right. I think it is a perceived danger as opposed to a real threat. I agree. I think it is dangerous, but in the same vein, you know, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? If we've got no reported injuries and everybody made it that did it and safely and okay, albeit, you know, there might be some emotional scars there that need a little bit of, you know, PSTD. What's the word I'm looking for? counselling, right? Bit of PTSD counselling. We're here to tell the tale, aren't we? We're here to talk about it.
We are. And then we've got another scree section, which I think was probably worse than the first one when we came down that second one, because this is where I got the stones in my shoes, because it was really tiny pebbles, weren't it? But there was a path. The good news, there was a path, even though it zigzagged, going down it. There was a little bit of a path to stay on, but it was so slippy. I'm glad I had my poles at that point.
Yeah. I went over a couple of times. It was very zigzaggy, very steep, very lots of that very small, tiny scree that just gets everywhere. It got in my shoe, and because my feet were numb and cold, I'd forgotten about it. But they did a fantastic job of wearing in some beautiful blisters that I got to show for the next couple of days. But it was a tricky section. There's no doubt, and I thought that was it.
So did I. But coming down that section, before we move on, I want to say James Appleton, and now a lot of my listeners will know James Appleton from years ago in OCR. Is a cameraman, does volcanoes and things like that, and he now works for Rat Race. So he was taking photos on the day, and I was going down this scree, and he just came flying past me in a straight line, carrying a 3,000-pound camera with a rucksack on his back with his drone in it, and I was just in amazement how he was running down this scree without second thoughts as he was leaping, and so big hats off to James Appleton there, taking photos and everything up there.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, them guys are great. There was, I don't know if it was James Appleton that was halfway up that waterfall, because there was a photographer there. But
yes, there was.
We said, how did you get here? And Carmen Jaleki just said, same way as you. Fair enough. You can't argue with that, can you?
No.
He absolutely got there the same way as us. But some great pictures.
A lot of volunteers in that area as well. I want to say there's about 5 or 6 volunteers in a space of like less than half a mile as well, making sure you took the right turning and you went up the waterfall, and there was someone at the top telling you where to go, and then down the scree, and which was great to see a lot of volunteers up on the top, the mountain, because quite often in events where you're going up mountains, and I've done a lot of fell runs, you don't get volunteers at the top. You might get them going halfway and then halfway back down, but you don't often get them going all the way to the top. So big well done to Rat Race. And the markings, they were everywhere. Throughout the race, the whole race was so well marked, wasn't it? The orange arrows and everything.
Yeah, there was a tiny little section as I left the top of Scaffell Pike, where I lost the path for just a moment, but that was probably more me than anything. My only criticism, and it is a small one, but I do agree it was really well marked. Again, I've done lots of different events and they were nowhere near as well marked. Was because we come back in the dark, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but when we came back down to the beach, it wasn't very well marked onto the beach. Now, fortunately, the road back was parallel, so we lost no mileage, but essentially it was down onto the beach, not next to the beach, and it was quite easy to miss that. So we asked directions, and somebody put us back onto the beach, which was great, but that was dark, it was late at night. I think the volunteers were starting to come back in, so we just had hours to look for. But it was again, it was maybe just an oversight on my part. On the whole, yes, it was easy to keep on track, and you're right, those guys and girls that were up in the mountains all that time, you just, what can you say? It's marvellous effort.
Definitely. Take my hat off to every one of them. So we come down Scaffell Pike, we went back up to Scaffell, and then I thought that was it, me. I thought it was going to be downhill all the way. I was thinking, we're going to go downhill. We've done, Scaffell Pike at 978 metres. We've done Scaffell at 964 metres. There's no other hills around here that we're going to go up. It's going to be nice and easy jog. Oh, my word. We ended up going up more hills. And then you think that was over. And then there'd be another one. I went up Mickledon at 830 metres. Winrig in Wasdale at 537. Ayrton Fell at 395. Inglehead at 600. They just never seemed to stop, did they? You'd think you'd done them all, and you'd find another one would pop up over the horizon.
Yeah, it was relentless, absolutely relentless. And at this stage, I'd asked, I think there was a volunteer maybe, and I said, "Oh, where's the next, where's the next waypoint?" And he said, "Oh, it's about 5 miles away." He lied, by the way. It wasn't 5 miles away. Or it didn't feel like it anyway. But yeah, it was that hill. I don't know what it was. You call it hill, you call it mountain. I don't know. It was as high as some of the other points that I was calling mountains. Put it that way. But because it was grassy and because it was kind of like I don't know, like a rounded shape, I want to say. It didn't feel mountain-esque, but it was as tall as. And again, it's just head down, one foot in front of the other. Just keep that rhythm going, and you think, great, we're at the top. When you reach the peak, you look over, and it isn't. It isn't. There's another one, and another one still, and that and then bogs. Jesus, I was almost knee deep at some point.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to lose my trainers, but it was great. It was just.
It wasn't runnable.
The views, man.
Yeah.
Oh, phenomenal.
I was on, I'm not sure what hill it was. It was on the very last hill before we came down, and I was making voice notes, and I've listened back to them today, because I was like, making voice notes. I was going on. I wish I'd have taken the camera and done, literally video notes. But the voice note I actually said was that I feel that Rat Race now has ripped my arsehole out, put another one in, and given my old arsehole to me to eat on a silver platter. And that's exactly how I felt as I was the last hill and I was coming down it, and that's exactly how I felt. I was completely, I'd lost all energy. I got no energy in me. I knew I was coming to a checkpoint, and I was all I was wanting was water and fluids in me. And I got to the final checkpoint. I downed basically a litre of water. I needed a litre of water. I downed all of that, got more electrolytes in me, some sugary stuff as well. And I got myself back out, but my aim then was just to finish it, and I was going to walk it in. And this last 6 miles I walked in, I finished in 10 hours and 3. Now, I loved the walking. Yeah, it was great. I've got to talk to a few people, stopped and walked with me for a while. So anyone who's listening to me who walked with me, thank you guys. We had some really good chats about some really strange events that I've been given some tips on. More to come when I find more about them out. But it was like, you said we get to the beach. I got to did you not come all the way along the beach then, or did you join the beach further up?
Joined the beach further up. So when we came down the road, there was an arrow apparently that sent you down onto the beach, and then you ran all the way along. Well, we ended up running parallel to that until you got where the calf was, and then we went to turn right, but was told, no, actually, you need to get back onto the beach and go up the railway track. So that's what we did. Went onto the beach, turned right, and in the distance from the head torches, you could just see these two luminous arrows, which then eventually sent us under the railway bridge and finished that bit off.
And so that itself was rude. That was evil. Wasn't it? Seeing the finish line, but then sending you further around to come back to it. That was evil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly my thoughts. Exactly. Yeah, I got. Finally, I mean, the views of Westwater, they're just phenomenal coming down them. That final descent through that foresty bit. Get to that final checkpoint, and again that the road run back was a road walk at this point, but it was great. And getting down into the actual town or village, whatever it is, a Seascale, thinking, yeah, we're just here now. We're there. We're okay. And no, I'm sorry, you're going that way. And it was like, oh God, and your head went down. It's okay, don't worry. Along the beach, underneath that railway bridge, back on through some God knows where it was, and then you can see it. There it is. There's the sports centre. The finish. I'm just going to walk through here. No, you're not. No, you're not. There's people pointing. No, it's wrong that way. And it's like, for God's sake, stop it now. I mean, it is on it's a minor detail, and it's a great finish, by the way. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
We came in, it was dark, and it's all illuminated, and the compare was there making us feel really special, like they always do. But brutal just doesn't cut it, man.
That's what I was going to ask you. 14 hours. So it was about 9 o'clock at night now that you're finishing.
That's right.
So I finished. what did I say? I finished at 5 o'clock, so I finished just after 5 o'clock. So, you know, there was quite a few people hanging around. The compere was going, the music was going. It did look a bit like a party atmosphere. I've got to admit, there wasn't a big, massive crowd like there was at Man v Mountain that I did last year. But there was just enough people to make it feel welcoming. What was it like at 9 o'clock? You know, was the people out from the local village? Was the people hanging around?
Yeah, so the only people that were there were were the partners of the very last runners. There was, I think, maybe half a dozen, 10 or so, I would imagine, stragglers, and it was all their partners. There was a few staff, but that was pretty much it. And I didn't even, do you know, if I'm honest with you, I didn't even expect it to be that much. At that time of night, 14 hours in, I thought there'd be, a token presence, but you still had the music, you still had the compare. There was still staff there giving out medals, giving out soup, saying well done. Photographers still there. It was brilliant, you know. Again, and I know that's what you pay for. I get that, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I think they might. Do you know? If honestly, I think they might have underestimated. If I'm honest, I think they underestimated just how long it was going to take people. It's my honest opinion. But fair play, they were there for us. It was great, and you know that medal is proud of place in my medal collection now. It's you know, I'm officially an ultra runner. You know, I don't know why I did it. I will do it again, but I'm not happy about it. Don't ask me to be pleased about it because I'm not. No, I'm joking. I love it. It's great. It's a different way of life for me. Like I said, you know, bringing it back to the beginning. This is a far cry from where I was 3.5 years ago. My weekends were spent, you know, full of self-deprivation and self-loathing. And now I love who I am. And it's because of events like this. It's given me a new lease of life. I'm a new man. And I can't get enough of them.
I'm glad that you found something that will take you away from dark times and give you happy memories, Kris, because that's the reason why I do this. I want to do it for happy memories, you know, and forget about certain things at certain times of the year and that. So yeah, it's great that you've done that. Before I let you go, yeah, in as few words as possible, how would you sum it up?
The best thing you'll ever do.
And on that, listener, you know where to sign up, ratrace.com. Thank you for listening. You take care, you stay safe, and you keep on running. Kris, thank you for joining me.
Thanks ever so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, Alan. Thank you.
And we'll speak to you all soon, listeners.